Hello, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts about AI. First problem that I have with AI is the name. AI, artificial intelligence, doesn't represent the underlying technology. It's actually an LLM, or a large language model. It is predictive in nature. It essentially is like predictive text on the old mobile phones that we had, but on steroids and fed with a ton of data. I should clarify that I don't have a problem so much with the technology itself and the concepts, but rather with the people that are pushing it and what they're claiming it can do and the impact that it will have on society. The underlying concept that powers AI models, large language models, has existed for a while. What's new is the influx of cash and the influx of data. The next stage, or the next act, for social networks and all the data that they've amassed, because up to now no one has figured out how to monetize, how to turn a profit from a social network. But as the AI hype has grown, social networks and platforms have realized that they're sitting on potentially a veritable gold mine to exploit. Of course, casting ethics and consent aside. And this has been very clear when it comes to AI companies, basically grabbing a large language model and then scraping large amounts of data, often copyrighted, without the permission of its creators or authors, even though these companies have received obscene amounts of investment funding to operate. And it basically shows a lack of care and a lack of appreciation for the creative process that is out there for everyone to see in how these companies have comported themselves when it comes to training data. I'll drop some links below so you can check it out. And then there's a secondary issue to this, which is that, from my perspective, it seems like AI has turned the clock back on environmental efforts by tech companies to ensure that their servers run as much as possible on green energy. My final issues with AI come down to interface and to the scope of it. I'll start off with the interface, maybe. So, I grew up with software in the 90s that was really trying to push the boundaries on UI design. I'm thinking particularly of something called Kai Power Tools and Bryce 3D, which, if you look at their UI designs and interfaces, it's a sort of user interface dead end that is not quite skeuomorphism, but it's really kind of an embodied interface, if you will. But to me, what was interesting about that, and I've actually kind of found sort of similar echoes of this in music technology, is that it abstracted away the highly technical parameters of software to create sort of macro controls that allowed users to experiment, but also have a certain degree of control without having to dive into highly numerous technical parameters. So with the current iterations of AI, you just have a text field where you can type in your prompt, and then you get a response in the form of text or an image, for example. So the solutions that are very much being touted by the tech industry as being the future to me seems like a step back, and ultimately the execution lacks creativity, because typing text into a text field takes me back to MS-DOS, and it's like, surely we're past that, it's 2024. I hope that there are companies that take LLMs and the related technology and create actually useful products instead of novelty acts. Now, my second point is about scope. Use cases presented, or the applications presented for AI, have primarily been: you can generate an image, you can write a poem, you can write an essay, you can come up with lyrics for a song, all these various things. Now, I know there's also now some more examples of it being used by developers for coding and things like that. Fine, no problem. But originally, to make AI a relatable mainstream idea, it was by co-opting the creative process. Why is that? Why was AI pitted against creatives, musicians, writers, visual artists? Why? It's not as if visual artists, musicians, and writers are some of the highest paid or most inefficient people out there. I would actually argue the contrary, which is that people that work in creative fields have to hustle in order to practice their craft and produce their art. But I do think that people in creative fields are some of the most marginalized workers in our economies. Therefore, they were an easy target for AI companies because they're undervalued, they don't have collective power to push back. I mean, yes, there have been some lawsuits and various things. To me, it's very interesting that AI companies didn't come out of the gate and say, hey, we're going to revolutionize clinical trials. Or, hey, we've come out with a product, it's an artificial intelligence that is able to lead companies. Why wasn't that the case? Because can you imagine if AI companies had done that? That would actually be revolutionary if they had taken on some of the most costly and overpriced aspects of our economy. But no, very much like tech companies do, they went for the path of least resistance. They went for what was already undervalued and underappreciated in our society, and that is human creativity. Thank you so much for listening today. Have a great day, and until next time.